sustainability as a career will be an interesting move to a lot of professionals, be it sustainability legal professional, a carbon accountant, ESG advisor. A lot of new job opportunities are coming out.
Welcome back, everybody. Rich Baker, founder of Collective Responsibility, here today with another episode of the Sustainable Ambassador Podcast. In this episode, I'm extremely honored to be joined by Serena Mak, who's the Executive Director of Sustainable Finance at DBS Bank. Serena, thank you very much for joining us. It's really a pleasure to have you here to share your insights and your experience with us. As a starting point, maybe introduce yourself and a little bit of the work that you're doing at DBS Bank.
I am currently looking after the sustainable finance work within the institutional banking group. We work with our clients to structure sustainable finance transactions. How can they overlay the sustainability agenda into their financial products? And then I also do risk and governance work, interacting with regulators, understanding what is the latest regulation and ensuring that we're compliant.
How did you get into this position to begin with? Like, what was the early start of your career? How did you get into sustainable finance?
I am born and bred in Hong Kong. I studied locally, and then after I graduated, I went into the operations department of an investment bank, primarily doing liquidity risk across Asia Pacific. I think I've always been looking for purpose at work. So even during that time, I was involved in diversity committee work. I was kind of volunteering anyway. I think it's been something that is kind of embedded to my personal preference, I would say. After my time in investment banking, I decided I wanted to really, try to switch career. At that point in time, two things happened. I started off with a responsible lending company trying to promote the social inclusion, financial inclusion story, eventually becoming the ESG funding manager, structuring the social loan consignment financing in Southeast Asia countries. And then on the other hand, I got involved in Friends of the Earth, who introduced one of the international exams. I became the examiner, so I'm actually supporting the organization in the examination process, helping them with content development.
I want to go back to the fact that you were in risk for 15 years. And I've noticed that a lot of professionals in the ESG space now come out of risk. What is it about the risk, either profession, community, tool set, that you think allows for so many people in risk to transition into ESG these days?
ESG itself, to me, is a framework. It encompasses so many things. It could be air pollution, it could be, like water scarcity, it could be biodiversity, it could also be labor relations, government relations, community stakeholder relationship. But then if we boil things down to the basics, it's actually also about the original professional career that, like the individual is in. So for me, if it's process design, then I overlay my interest to ESG. I understand the framework, and then now I'm kind of course, structuring the transactions, but I'm also helping the internal design of the process. And that's kind of how I can use what I've learned in my previous career into an ESG career. Same for risk, and actually even more so, I would say, because the modeling mindset, the risk mindset, the what if analysis, the scenario analysis. So all these kind of knowledges on skill set, and I would think probably the technical mindset can also be applied when you kind of pivot into an ESG role.
So this offers up kind of the theme of this, which is the ESG Skills Gap that, that kind of set up this conversation to begin with. How do you look at the skills gap that exists right now in the market? Where is the gap that you see as being either as being important and needing to fill, or what are the things that you really think are missing right now, or the people that are missing, or the skill sets? Like, what is the gap as you see it right now?
I think there are kind of two components to it, though. One is, of course, we need it's whether it's mid-career switchers or like new to the job market individuals. They all kind of need to know. But I also feel like senior management need to be equipped, because they need to be able to strategize and provide the direction. And for that, you need at least a few years of accumulating the experience, getting into the market. And considering how fast the market is growing right now, it is probably a organic thing. which I think
Yeah. Yeah.
hopefully we will resolve itself in a couple of years' time, where we will have more senior professionals having done sustainability for a couple of years. Then, they will be able to strategize and direct the organization. Now, the other angle of it is also the race against all the changes that's happening.
Yeah.
How frequently new things are coming up. Even for us in the financial industry, standards are getting updated maybe less than once a year in terms of frequency. So we are actually faced off with, like a car that is running really fast and somebody who need to drive it and who's not super familiar with this type of
Yeah.
car. And then whilst the car is moving, the engine is getting itself upgraded, the software is getting itself upgraded on a regular
Yep.
basis. These all are kind of factors that,
Yeah.
that I think are kind of contributing to whether we call this a talent war or,
Yeah.
demand gap. That's probably how I
So,
read the situation right
so
now.
who are the best drivers right now in the industry? Is it the young entrants who want to use the banking system to change the world, save the world? Is it individuals like yourself, middle management getting into executive leadership where you're marrying the two? Or is it the leaders at the very top who just need to better understand this? Like, is there one group that's doing this better? Is there one group that you think is needed more of?
There's already a lot of senior management getting trained and getting more aware. But of course, the
Yeah.
more senior management there is, and the more they will kind of trickle this down the system, then the more it will be helpful. Now, for
Yeah.
folks like me, middle management, I see ourselves as kind of the bridge. So
Mm,
some of us will have the technical expertise. Some of us will have a particular passion or understanding in particular topics, and
yeah.
I see it as kind of my job to at least be able to influence people that I speak to in the senior management, or at least share what I'm seeing in the
Yeah.
market so that they are aware. And then I think the more you speak about certain things, the more people are aware, the more they will think about it when they're analyzing the business strategy. But none of this will be able to happen without, having the junior staff or part of the team helping
Yeah.
us with all the research, all the structuring, all the data analytics.
So if we talk about just the senior leadership, like the very top, you said
Mm.
it's imperative that they are on board and that they really create the structure. If you were to look at the finance sector, what's the gap there that exists?
I think in general, when it comes to driving sustainability agenda, awareness and knowledge is being one. And then the other part of it is also the return on investment. At least the market or the environment is actually quite conducive in the sense that there are already researchers and data
Yeah.
that can prove that if you embark on sustainability, if you integrate sustainability in your business strategy, then you have probably less volatility in your revenues, or you might actually achieve like better results. There are at least hopefully some kind of research that will prove. Now, the broader scheme of things, though, is also how the various markets that we are in, right? How our regulators are thinking about it, how our key clients are thinking about it as well. Because we
Mhm.
can push the sustainability agenda within the organization,
Right.
but
Right.
then our clients are also a big part of that stakeholder engagement. So I don't think it is a myth to bust per
Right.
se, but ESG has a cost. There is no denial, but
Yeah.
it's a cost towards future proofing your business. And
Hmm.
so the more kind of management start to kind of see sustainability and ESG in this light, the less resistance we'll see through the whole system, the whole ecosystem
Yeah.
in
Right.
in trying to get this on the board table.
What's the ecosystem like right now? What's the energy like these days? Like, is it super positive, super struggle? And then how do you help each other get through these challenges or learn from each other? Like,
the ecosystem is quite broad. We will have the ESG rating agencies, you have the second party opinion operators, you actually also have ESG advisory folks, you have ESG reporting professionals. And actually quite interestingly, we all share similar challenges. We are all
Yeah.
talking about where can we find data? Where can we collect where can we see the insight? How do you resolve issues with clients that are asking
Mm.
questions on nascent technologies? And then when you kind of poke these questions to the community, people are more than willing to answer. It's very energizing to be in an environment like this.
What drives people together and this community to work together?
I think multiple drivers. One thing for sure, the market or different countries are actually, having sustainability as more and more top of mind.
Yeah.
The more it is discussed, the more people are aware of this topic, then you attract more people, whether, straight from college or mid-career switches, to look into
Mm.
it. So there's no denial that sustainability as a career it will be an interesting move to a lot of professionals. I think be it a sustainability legal professional, like a carbon accountant, a
Yeah.
ESG advisor, a lot of interesting kind of new job opportunities are coming out. And then the third one is probably I would love to think that a a true desire to see the purpose in their work, to be able to support the sustainability agenda.
If you think about that, then what is the knowledge or the skills that you think layer in really well to a transition into the space? Like,
So I think, a few things will be super useful. Understanding of a basic ESG framework. The way, sustainability, the way kind of I personally see sustainability is that it is actually a framework that puts a lot of existing discussion topics or existing
yeah.
existing topics together. So corporate
Mhm.
governance is not new. Energy efficiency is also not new. Labor relations is also not new. But ESG itself is a really structured and universal language
Yeah.
to put all these together. So you need to speak the ESG language. Now, secondly is then identify what are some of the core skills or core knowledges relevant to your career, because for mid-career switch, it's probably not like you can somebody would want to switch directly from a banking career into a marketing career into an engineering career. It is
Right.
probably a mid-career switch off from a banking corporate finance professional into sustainable finance, or from a
Mm.
corporate corporate legal into sustainable ESG law legal. When you switch your career, understanding that it's not a directly switch into
Mhm.
sustainability as a job, it's more like adding sustainability to your CV
Yeah.
and becoming proficient in that language will be important.
If you think about your own path in this, what have been the skills, tool sets, mindsets that have given you the biggest benefit?
I can think of three things actually.
Mm.
One is speaking the language.
Okay.
And I think that is really helpful, because in doing sustainability, a lot of time is spent in communication, because you
Yeah.
need to engage the client, you need to speak to counterparty, probably will be speak to regulator.
Yeah.
Now the other part of it is I did take some exams
Yeah.
before I started off with the role. And one exam in particular had a case study requirement during the exam. And by doing practice of that case study, I think it helps me to it helps me to put all the things that I've learned into perspective.
Mm.
And actually that ended up to be something that I'm doing every day, because I'm doing a case study every day by looking into a new client. So that particular kind of exam for me was quite useful. I think the third thing is the the alertness to the sustainability issues around me, to kind of put things into perspective, like, talking about, do you see how, Hong Kong has been flooded once in 100 years, but guess what?
Right,
It's
right.
probably not like once in 100 years. I won't be surprised if you see it in less than 100 years time, because,
Yeah,
climate is changing. So
yeah.
the awareness, or the kind of sense to be, looking around for these issues and bringing that into your work, and kind of adding into your repository of knowledge, is another skill that I find useful.
As a final question, if you were speaking to a young professional or a graduating student interested in getting into the sustainable finance space, what are 2 or 3 pieces of advice you'd give them about your own experience that would help them get a little bit further along in their own path?
First of all, I think is the willingness to experiment and to try. Quite
Mm,
interestingly, there are a lot of opportunities for nonprofits or international organizations,
mhm.
especially now in the post-COVID new normal, are
Yeah.
looking for interns remotely. The one of the easiest way for you to get yourself involved, and also decide whether you're interested or not. And also, be try to learn a little bit more, because the world of sustainability is a fast-growing field, but then given the vast reach of the topic,
Mm,
for example, if you look up, the different types of hydrogen, green, gray, blue, you
mm,
have maybe 100 items if you just Google. And
right.
so, use those tools and educate yourself.
Mm,
And then the third one, do remember, sustainability is type of role that kind of, with an aim to create positive impact to the overall society. So as long as you kind of have that mindset and are truly interested, then things will fall into place.